Hey, peace to all my peoples in the ethos. Working for that peace, though. You have found the right place for strategy, talk, conversation, and that must see Black Talk, Black First TV. It's the Real HD Show. Let's go. Peace to everybody out there enjoying your summer flair. You have touched down on the show that needs no introduction, but we'll do it anyway. It's the Real HD Show, HD standing for higher discussion. So if you're tired of everybody talking about Keke Palmer and her boyfriend, and if you're tired of everybody talking about all the needless noise out there in the macro verse of what we call America, tune in to us, man. We're going to get down to it. We are must-see Black First TV radio. We are blasting off from 7 different social media channels tonight. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitch, we're on Twitter, we're on Mob Crush, we're on D-Live, we're on Troll Nation. We are everywhere. We're not on IG, though, because IG had some problems with what a bruh had to say. So you know we hit big time, big time, big time, when you see that we got issues with the big time social media outlets. That means I'm doing my job. Welcome to the Real HD Show, that place where you come to get that info to keep you moving, keep you motivated, keep you astute and aware as a be first person for the rest of the 21st century. We know what all that B stands for. That B stands for that carbon 6 melanin. All my melanin people in the house, hear me now. I know y'all hear me now. Let's go. So get in here, man. Share this link at the bottom of the screen. Get everybody involved. StreamYard.com. 8NZE. 3RS, 8N6. 8NZE, 3RS, 8N6. And congratulations and Asante Sana to my frat brothers that are at the Indaba in Charlotte, North Carolina, enjoying themselves in the anniversary of that African fraternalism. Malik, let's go. Manhood, achievement, leadership, integrity, and knowledge, named after none other than Malcolm X and his standards. So we celebrate those brothers. The king and I salutes the king and you. I had to do my show, so I apologize for being a no-show, but I had to be there for the people. And, you know, I will be there for my brothers as well. Yeah, man. So before we get started, we're going to jump right into an AAT moment, healthy, wealthier, and wiser, right here on the Real HD Show. We have a video by an Indonesian doctor that's going to tell you about some amazing but weird medical health facts that will arm you, make you stronger so you can live longer. Healthy, wealthier, and wiser. Arrow Aqua Terra. AAT report right here, Real HD Show.
Dr. Curran here. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button so you're the first to see my new videos. Today, I'm going to share with you 20 weird medical facts that will blow your mind. The longest hiccups lasted nearly 69 years. When Charles Osborne started hiccuping in 1922, he didn't stop until 1990. Charles Osborne hiccuped non-stop for 68 years and almost 69 years. And the worst part, he wasn't even doing anything to trigger his decades-long hiccuping. He was just weighing a hog before slaughter, and it started. Initially, he started hiccuping 40 times a minute, and in his later years, it slowed to 20 hiccups a minute. And after decades of hiccuping, he managed to live a hiccup-less life for 1 year before his demise in 1991. The human body can truly be a disgusting place. Did you know that you swallow 365 cups of mucus in 1 year? That's 22 gallons in a year. If you thought that was bad, when you sleep in your bed, you sweat 26 gallons of the stuff per year. That means an average person sweats 1 cup of sweat in their bed per day. Now, men of a certain age group will be very well versed with this certain drug, Viagra, but did you know that it can help wilted flowers as well as wilted male organs? If you dissolve Viagra in water, it can make cut flowers stay erect too, and can keep them straighter and erect for a week longer than usual. Now this one truly is weird. Did you know that in the United States, 100 people a year choke on pens? I should say pen caps. So don't chew your pen lids. Now this high choking rate actually triggered the pen company BIC or BIC to change the design of their pen lids to having the little holes on top. So this means even if someone swallows a pen lid, they can still breathe. Now I hope this fact doesn't ruin your Christmas. We all love a little bit of nutmeg sprinkled in with our hot chocolate in Christmas. But did you know that nutmeg can be poisonous? It may seem unlikely, but in certain amounts, nutmeg can be fatal to humans. Compared to other plants and herbs, nutmeg contain higher levels of a compound called myristicin. Consuming more than 1 teaspoon of nutmegs can result in wild hallucinations, dizziness, nausea, vomiting, as well as an abnormal heartbeat, and consuming any more than that can result in organ failure. Now this one is weird. Did you know that from the day you're born until the day you die, your eye size remains the same? But interestingly enough, your noses and your ears never stop growing. Now this one probably won't affect me too much because I don't like carrot juice, but did you know that if you consume 10 gallons of carrot juice, it can kill you? This is because the vitamin A content of that much carrot juice can cause brain swelling and inflammation, cerebral edema. That's because the vitamin A content of that much carrot juice can cause brain swelling, cerebral edema, and can cause other complications leading to death. Now, if you're an arachnophobe or you're scared of spiders, it probably won't appeal to you. But in ancient times, in ancient Roman Greece, they used to use spider webs as bandages for wounds. Supposedly, spider webs have antibacterial and antifungal properties, which helps to reduce the rates of infections from wounds. It was also said that spider webs were a natural source of vitamin K, which helps to promote blood coagulation or clotting, further helping wound to heal. Now, the human body has a lot of bones. You probably won't look at your feet in the same way again. A quarter of all the bones in your body are in your feet. In each foot, you have 26 bones and 33 joints. So out of the 206 bones in your body, 52 are in both your feet. Now this fact is gonna make you feel about this big. Did you know that a human could swim right through a blue whale's veins? Now this one is straight out of the horror books. There used to be a family that lived in Kentucky in the USA that had blue skin. No, I know what you're thinking. These weren't the real life Smurfs. The blue Fugate family of Kentucky had a genetic condition passed on due to interbreeding called methemoglobinemia. This is a very rare genetic condition that turns the skin blue. Now we can probably all agree that the Romans were a truly pioneering civilization and a truly great empire. But some of the stuff they did weren't quite conventional. They used to clean their teeth with urine. How's that for organic toothpaste? Sometimes your human body is just cosmic. There are 60,000 miles of blood vessels in your body. Now, if you took out all the blood vessels in your body and laid them end to end, they would stretch over the entire world 2 times. If you're anything like me, you struggle to wake up in the morning, which is why I always rely on my alarm. But what did people do before alarms? They used to be human alarm clocks. They were called knocker-uppers. Knocker-uppers originated in Britain during the time of the Industrial Revolution. When people needed to wake up and get to work, it was the job of a knocker-upper to take a long wooden stick and knock on the door or window to wake up the person. Speaking of sleep and work, did you know that napping is actually allowed at work in Japan? In Japan, napping at work is actually seen as a sign of diligence. That's because you're thought to be working so much and so hard that you're exhausted and need to sleep. The Japanese call this inemuri. They call it present but sleeping. For some strange reason, I don't think my boss would enjoy this. Laughing is always good, but this was one time laughing wasn't so good. In 1962, a laughing epidemic in Tanzania caused 12 schools to close down. What initially started with a few schoolgirls chuckling ended up being a year-long mass hysteria, causing several nearby villages to close down. Symptoms of the laughing epidemic included crying, fainting, rashes, and pain. And towards the end of the epidemic, 14 schools had closed down. Women often say that they can survive without men. This probably isn't quite true. They probably need at least one man to survive. That's because one man's sperm can impregnate every woman on Earth. In just 2 weeks, a single human male produces enough sperm to impregnate every fertile female in the world. So I guess that makes most of us pretty useless. You've probably all seen those samurai films where someone's head gets decapitated and blood squirts in the air. I'm thinking Kill Bill. This is one time where Hollywood may have it just right. The human heart contracts with enough force to squirt blood 30 feet in the air. We all like trees, but did you know that trees could grow in your lungs? In 2009, doctors found a fir tree growing in the lungs of 28-year-old patient Artyom Sidorkin. What doctors initially suspected was a tumor was actually the sprouting seeds of a fir tree. Did you know that people in New England, America in the 19th century thought that tuberculosis was because of vampirism? The 19th century was the height of the New England vampire panic. During this time, people thought that consumption, the earlier word for tuberculosis, was spread by vampires. People would even dig up patients who died from tuberculosis and stab them with a stake through the heart. Guess they weren't fans of Twilight. Hit the subscribe button if you want to catch the latest videos. If you want me to debunk any more weird medical myths or cover any more topics, comment below.
Hey, we are back, Real HD show. That was the good doc with a word for us tonight. And that word is nutmeg is poison. Too much carrot can be bad for you. And don't choke on no pens. Yeah, man. But I am remiss because I forgot something. We always have to start with our elders and ancestors blueprint. And who's on our elders and ancestors blueprint this evening? This evening, we got none other than Martin Delaney, father of Black nationalism. Now, that's not to say that this brother took the place of Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey left us with an indelible, long-lasting gift to our community with the red, the black, and the green, and the UNIA organization, and all that comes with it, Black Star Line, and a tremendous self-worth, self-pride, and you could say he's the father of Pan-Africanism. But let's check out Brother Martin Delaney and see what blueprint he left for our people on the Elders and Ancestors Blueprint Real HD Show.
Armchair, talking cliches to listeners that aren't there. You call it warfare, but your wars aren't fair. If they were, there'd be suicide bombers in arms fairs.
YouTube salute! About to talk to you about Martin Roberson Delaney. Before Marcus Garvey, yes, Delaney is considered to be the father of Pan-Africanism and the father of Black nationalism. He was an African-American abolitionist, the first African-American field officer in the United States Army, and one of the earliest African-Americans to encourage enslaved people to return to Africa. So Delaney was born in Charlestown, Virginia, which is now West Virginia, to a slave father and a free mother. Delaney's mother took her children to Pennsylvania in the early 1820s to avoid their enslavement and persecution brought on by attempting to teach her children to read and write. They wanted them to be illiterate. And at that time, if Black people that was enslaved were literate, that was illegal. So in 1833, Martin Delaney began an apprenticeship with a Pittsburgh physician and soon opened a successful medical practice in culping and leeching. In 1843, he began publishing a newspaper in Pittsburgh called The Mystery. Later on, Delaney joined Frederick Douglass and advocated the North Star in Rochester, New York. Delaney entered Harvard Medical School in 1850 to finish his formal medical education, but was dismissed from the institution after only 3 weeks as a result of petitions to the school from white students. 2 years later, he published The Condition, Evaluation, Immigration, and Destiny of the Colored People of the United States Politically Considered, claiming that even abolitionists would never accept blacks as equal, and thus the solution to the black condition lay in the immigration of all African Americans back to Africa. In 1859, Delaney led an immigration commission to West Africa to explore possible sites for a new black nation along the Niger River. We are a nation within a nation. We must go from our oppressors. That's a quote he always used to say. During the Civil War, Delaney, he served in the Union Army. In February 1865, after meeting with President Abraham Lincoln at that time, He persuaded the administration to create an all-black corps led by African American officers. Delaney was commissioned a major in the 52nd U.S. Colored Troops Regiment. With that appointment, he became the first line officer in the U.S. Army history. Beautiful. I love hearing that. When reconstructed, Liberian Exodus Joint Stocks Steamship Company, he also wrote in 1879 the Principle of Ethnology, a book that argued that race pride and purity. So Delaney withdrew from the Liberian Exodus Company around 1880. He relocated to Boston, Massachusetts, and then went to Wilberforce College in Exia, Ohio. He passed away January 12th, 1885, and a lot of people consider him to be the father of Black nationalism and the father of Pan-Africanism. I consider him to be that. It's no disrespect to Marcus Garvey, but there's always somebody that's actually laid the stepping stone. Marcus Garvey, yes.
All right, we are back. Real HD Show. Make sure you go and patronize Kofi's Universe on YouTube. Some interesting videos, some interesting Afrocentric Black Be First videos on Kofi's Universe. Go patronize that brother 1000%. And again, here's a live link if you want to jump in and tell us what you think. StreamYard, 8NZE, 3RS, 8N, and the number 6. Please join us. Let us know what you think about all that we have to present to you tonight. And because we are here tonight, we are here for this. These international stars have what in common? And we're going to get right into that in a minute. And you guys won't be disappointed. So just a little context, because context is king. More and more as our people begin to, stick up for themselves and control their own narratives and do the things that are declarative of themselves and make themselves pronounced in the world, whether they are Black first or whether they are not, they are declaring themselves as human beings and valuable first. And then, of course, it's always great when they declare that they are Be First, because, that melanin adrenaline is the whole big picture. So I'm scrolling and I'm, reading the stories that, people sending me and that I get online and in the emails and whatnot. And I come across a story about this right here. Now, I already knew that a lot of people had smoke for Beyonce and what she did with the Black is King piece, right? So let me go ahead and put that up. Give me one sec. I'll pop that picture up. Everybody was really, really tight with Beyonce over what she did with, when she did Black is King. Because when she did Black is King, she dressed during one of her songs. She dressed as Het Met. Het Heru, right? And Het Heru has a twin called Sekhmet, which is the cat warrior goddess. Well, Beyonce dressed up as, she was channeling the goddess Het Heru, which is the mother, right? That's why you see the womb on top, and you see the, you know, the everlasting wings or the arms that come out of the womb or the pineal. That's also, you know, indicative of the pineal. And then you, as you can see in my picture here, you can see that other Beyonce, and of course a lot of Christians, Ebony went nuts, Essence went nuts, calling her a devil worshiper and all this sorts of nonsense. But the main thing is that Arabs, who are the administrative class and ruler class of Egypt, banned her from performing in their country because they said that her Afrocentric views were lies against their people and their people's heritage and culture. I call that cap. You see, I got my cap on, right? You know, you see, I got my cap on, so I call that cap, right? And then I came across, and everybody knows recently of Jada Pinkett Smith and her, you know, say what you want to about the documentary. She attempted to bring a little more, like, I guess, relevancy and a little bit more accuracy to what a Cleopatra would look like in Kemet, or Egypt as it were, and caught all kinds of smoke, all kinds of petitions, all kinds of, you know, all kinds of heat politically. People were screaming and shouting to the top of their lungs. About, you know, shame, shame, shame. Even went so far as to say it was blackwashing, which I've never heard that word before, but they said it was a blackwash. They said this was called a blackwash. Okay. Now, for what it's worth, and if you look back at my Queen Cleopatra show that we did, myself and Brother Mozzie, Cleopatra was from the Ptolemy dynasty that was from Greece. But even if you were from Greece, back in those days, where you got pure sun and pure food and pure environment, you would have had a darker tone to what you look like. And Greeks, by definition, or by legacy, have a swarthy, olivey tone themselves. And curious, though, and let me know what you guys think about this. Why is it that you never hear the Arabs give the Europeans or the Americans any smoke when they attempt to play or portray European, Egyptian figures in their movies? But the minute that a black person decides they want to show or depict a Kemetan or an Egyptian through their eyes, all kinds of smoke, all kinds of problems. Jada Pinkett was released from the movie or the documentary staff, and Beyonce's was banned from performing in Egypt. Now, I think when you do things like that, I think you just do the public a disservice. You really don't do the legacy of what is being shown a disservice, because people have the internet, people have streaming devices and services. They can go stream these things and find these things out if they need to. But then there was one more person who caught a lot of heat over this. No, that's the wrong person. And that was none other than Kevin Hart. And Kevin Hart was denied the opportunity to play this role. And I'm going to show you a video really quickly, because once again, I'm having battery problems. So Pardon me, family, but we're gonna get to this video before we have a shut off. And hopefully this video really does justice to the topic that we're dealing with tonight. Check it out, y'all. Real HD Show.
I want to share this information with you.
Shout out, check out this brother's YouTube and TikTok channel, and check out everything that this brother has to say. Please patronize this brother. He put together a great video, and you know, we want to get to the bottom of this Real HD Show.
Of Egypt is in uproar because of Kevin Hart and his blackwashing the history of Egypt. Listen to this. Calls to cancel Kevin Hart's comedy show in Egypt over Afrocentric views. And it reads as such there, family members. Calls are growing in Egypt to cancel the upcoming stand-up show in Cairo by U.S. comedy star Kevin Hart over his past comments in support of Afrocentricism on ancient Egypt, which has angered many in the country. On Tuesday, Hart announced on Twitter that he will be performing for the first time in Egypt at the Cairo Indoor Stadium in February 2023. However, his post promoting his reality check tour prompted many Egyptian users to call for the show to be boycotted or canceled due to Hart's Afrocentric views of ancient Egyptian civilization. Some users have started using hashtags calling for the show to be canceled and saying that Hart is not welcomed in the country as Egyptian history is a red line. Hart is once said to be stated, "We must teach our children the true history of Black Africans when they were kings in Egypt, and not just the era of slavery that is cemented by education in America. Do you remember the time when we were kings?" One user said Afrocentric wants to steal and attribute Egyptian civilization to Africans and tell modern Egyptians that we are occupying Egypt from them. We must all participate in the campaign to cancel Kevin Hart's concert. Among those calling for the show to be canceled was Egyptian actor Yosef Othman. He highlighted that Hart had invested in an Afrocentric animation series by the company Black Sands Entertainment, which others have accused of blackwashing ancient Egyptian history. Now, hot daggone, here we go. This is the first time I heard about blackwashing. We hear about whitewashing, but now we're into this blackwashing. You're going to hear more of this, family. This is a shame. Last year, prominent Egyptologist and former Minister of Antiquities Zal Hawass dismissed the notion that ancient Egyptians were Black Africans, but did acknowledge that there was evidence of Cushites who ruled Egypt during the 25th dynasty. If I've been all down through Egypt, and all the statues, the paintings, all are Black folk, brown folk.
He's talking about Emperor or the Pharaoh Taharka that came from Kush all the way up to Egypt to set the diagnostic period correct, because they were foreign invaders that were in the kingship of Kemet. And that brother would have looked like Michael Jai White. If you could paint a picture, you could put his face in the middle, you'd have a pretty good idea of what that brother looked like. Let's get back.
Folk, whatever folk you see wasn't white folk. From the tan to the dark, whether they want to say Nubia, Kush, the land of Kush, whether they want to say it was whomever, it's in Africa. This is why some Egyptians that are there, they don't even know their history. It says here, if we look at ancient Egypt, there are two theories, with one theory being that their origin was either from Semites, descendants of Shem, son of Noah, or Hamites, descendants of Ham, son of Noah, with input from Palestine and from Africa based on the faces of the people from the Delta and Upper Egypt, he said. Now, keep in mind, Upper Egypt is southward, okay?
Correct. The lineage of Kemetan people are from is southward of what we would call southern Africa. To them, it was northern Africa. On a map, it would be known as southern Africa. And it sprouted up what we would call up north. Continue.
Going into the land of Kush, the land of Nubia. Afrocentrism gains traction in the U.S. following the growth of Black consciousness and the civil rights movement of the 1960s and 70s, and centuries on the history of people of African descent, and has been described as a response to the Eurocentric attitude about African history. One of the most disputed and divisive subjects has been the race of the ancient Egyptians, and the accusations that modern Egyptians have no claim to the country's ancient heritage due to
which they do not. Which they do not. They took over after Rome and assumed administrative post of what was Kemet, but it cannot account for the 23, 25 or more dynasties and what that lineage was before them. Smatawi and Siwa, all different areas of Kemet. Melanated people reside. Land of Punt, Nubia, Kush. We continue.
Being descendants of Arab invaders, while Afrocentrists have been accused of attempting to steal or appropriate Egyptian history. It is evident that there are Arabs that are there, and that the good thing is that paintings and statues showing the black faces, the DNA test that was done on the mummies, prove that it was all African. See, people don't want to admit, based upon scientific, historical, and archaeologist data, first man on earth was black. An African in the continent. Wasn't the name of the continent, but as a point of reference, Africa. Of the Egyptians and Nubia.
Which different ethnic groups.
The tombs, to all of it. And you see people of color and the black faces all over the place. And let's
ethnicity.
Well, they have just told me that Shemai had a Nubian feature, which means that their ruling family was probably Nubian, and that was unexpected.
Examining.
All right, so there you go. You had a scientist, archaeologist. They dug up the bones of royalty that they found in the pyramids, and they, after analysis, DNA analysis, they found out that those actual bones of Shemi was actually Nubian in origin. If anybody knows what Nubians look like, they look more like you and me than they do like Cleopatra. So that would be the scientific expression or the scientific evidence one would need to understand that Kemetans were actually, or Egypt, or Egyptians within the royal cusp were melanated. and they look more like me than they do like this guy here that, you know, every chance you get is throwing a fit about what Egyptians, about Egyptian heritage. And he leads the charge in banning. Most times he's leading the charge against banning Bassem Youssef, right, is his name. He leads the charge most of the time in banning artists that come to the United States if they carry Afrocentric views, like we have any choice. So I'll rewind that one more time so you can hear what the doctor said about the origin of Shmi, the actual bones that they found in the just trying to get it in the right spot, family. There you go.
Egyptian. And let's see what he says.
But the CT scan has one more surprise for Alejandro. Shemai's ethnicity.
Well, they have just told me that Shemai had Nubian features, which means that their ruling family was probably Nubian, and that was unexpected.